what are your expectations of this 2024-2025 budget? And it's reading in the next few days. What are you hoping to see? What are some of the issues you're hoping to see addressed in this budget?
Yeah, and some of the issues I'm looking at, and I'm very optimistic that this government will address, are, for instance, number one, the matter of food security. For me, it was quite a very good plan by government in the previous budget when they were able to budget for production. And I'm hoping that that does not go away, so that we are able to invest in our food security, that the farmers out there must be able to be budgeted for, so that must have subsidized fertilizer, subsidized farm inputs, so that the way we are able to produce our food in this country needs to become cheaper on the side of the farmer, so that government takes the bigger chunk of the process, so that at the end of the day, we are food secure. The subsidization of fertilizer alone last year was able to actually almost triple the production of the maize that this country was able to have. So if we can be able to move towards more of that, where we are budgeting for food security and just ensuring that production is easier, importation of even the farm inputs needs to be made easier. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. I'm also looking at the budget on education, and I'm very particular about the CBC curriculum. I'm hoping that government is now able to budget to make it now to strike an equilibrium within this CBC, because I've always said the CBC curriculum, in as much as it is a good curriculum, the problem is that it is not on equilibrium, because what the kids are being told to do in Nairobi is not the same thing that the kids are being told to do in Naitiri. And if children are learning by observation, then I ask myself, how will kids in the village become pilots because they have not observed planes? And the kids in Nairobi have that advantage. Yeah, we are looking at some of the kids cannot even afford the little things they're told to go and come with whatever for the making of whatever. So I'm hoping that this budget will be able to address that problem and provide some of these things required by the CBC curriculum directly to schools, as opposed to making them subjective to the children, because the children have the varied means of livelihoods. I'm also looking at the aspect of the budget funding climate action, because most of the time we have had climate conversations, but we are doing more or less very little about it. Yeah, so all of us are aware of the climate change and the position of Africa as it is on matters climate. But then what are the tangible things that we are doing about it? The president has the project of 1 billion trees. That is just one thing. What about the other elements? And are we also educating people enough about this climate action? So I'm also looking at this budget being able to fund some of the climate-oriented action so that we prepare for a better future. I'm also looking at the budget, looking at youth employability, because every aspect, the most of the people in this country that are unemployed are young people. So this budget must employ people. We are looking at the number of teachers that should be employed should go higher. The number of the police officers that should be employed should go higher. The number of people even in the NYS, the number of people at the KWS, every element and every place where young people can actually get employment should be heavily funded, so that the employability of young people goes to the next nexus, instead of us complaining about the unemployment problem every time. Of course, it cannot be done in one budget, but I'm just looking at, can it be able to move even higher? And on the same element of youth employability, I'm also looking at innovation, so that government can be able to support innovation. Because we have looked at, you remember during the COVID time, there is what Kenyatta University students were able to do. They came up with...
Yes.
The seat or something.
Yeah, and there was actually several elements, because there was what the university came up with. We had guys who came up with beds somewhere. I think it was somewhere in Nyeri or somewhere. I cannot remember exactly where. But we were able to see...
the two students who made a bed, yes.
Exactly.
Kirinyaga.
It was in Kirinyaga. So these were able to come up with that. We have also formally been able to see someone make a car in Kenya.
Laikipia.
Now, in Laikipia. So we are looking at a situation where...
And a plane.
Even a plane has actually been made in this country. So that shows you our potential in innovation, our potential in creation, our potential to just be able to do some of these things. But then they have never been. That's why those stories come as sensational headlines. They become fun stories, and then that dies. But then you look at if they were able to be budgeted for within the budget to be able to support some of these things, then there's a lot that we can actually do. Our own students in this country are able to provide COVID solutions.
Yes.
So if we can be able to fund these without a
Innovation.
crisis, we fund the innovation without the crisis, so that we're not waiting until there's a crisis for us to then be able to help on that. Also, the element of, I don't know whether that would still fall under innovation, but I have seen the writing culture in Kenya come up. The young people of this country today,
Yes.
they have come up. The writing culture is now very high. I have seen people like Jacob Aliet, and I can see even his books here. I have
Deborah
seen
Auko.
people like Nyanchwari. I have seen
Deborah Auko.
Deborah Auko. You haven't even seen Duale and his book. So we have a lot of writing happening in Kenya today that was not previously being done. So there must be a way that this can be able to be supported. And I'm hoping that that can be part and parcel of the budget. Last but not least, I'm looking at the element of health. With the shift to SHIF. Today, many people are complaining about NHIF not being able to cover some of the things. Like you go to hospital, you are told, no, the money has not been remitted and such kind of things. So can this budget fully fund this health segment? So that when we are doing this transfer to SHIF, we are not again faced by the similar problems
We had in
NHIF, where the hospitals will continue telling Kenyans that, okay, this is okay, you are actually guaranteed this, but the problem is